Hi, and welcome to the Diablo podcast, your home for Diablo diehards, tryhards, casual, and hardcore alike. I am your host, Xanth, and today the normal crew is out. They're away, they're doing life stuff, so I had to bring in a ringer, bring in an expert, bring in a man of math who can maybe explain what toughness is to me, Macrobioboi.
Hi, everybody. I'm always so excited to be here. Xanth hit me up, and I was like, oh, dude, I was going to do nothing all night, and instead I get to hang out with my buddy and talk Diablo. Hell yeah.
Is there anything better? And we got a lot to talk about. We'll dig in. You can explain the campfire to me. You can explain toughness and all of the leanings of the campfire, and then we're going to speculation station. We're gonna go and live in the ether of just pure speculation, which is honestly the, I think one of the best moments for any video game franchise when you just get to hypothesize before you are ultimately left or let down by the reality, because we're going to build ourselves up to something that will not happen. And yeah, I'm excited. So first, what have you been up to? Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, well, and we were just talking, before we hit the record button. I've just been sick. I've just been sick. Basically, my internet hasn't worked for a month, so I haven't been able to be a streamer. I just had my first stream with like no dropped frames, no internet connection issues at all. So I've been trying to remember what it's like to actually wake up, do a morning routine, and then stream for a full 6 or 7 hours because I just didn't have to for 3 weeks, which basically meant I got to spend a lot of time thinking about Diablo 4 over the PTR, and now obviously with the post PTR patches. And are we getting a new class? Who knows? Obviously, we're talking about that later, but
No
just
spoilers. No
I'm just
spoilers.
deep in it. Updating Max Roll, obviously, since we have the patch notes now, coming up with new planners, trying to figure out what kind of gear are people going to have. This is my favorite time before a season is the theory crafting part. So I've been in it.
So why don't we start out with the big things? I think there are a couple big takeaways from the most recent campfire. The first is the tower. I think that's where the big amount of disappointment comes from, right?
Yeah.
We are introduced to this new metric for us to measure our massive wangs against one another, and we get to go play with it. We get to go see how that works. And then it's like, hey,
Pause. Pause.
yeah.
There needs to be a much more formal period between those two statements. We get to measure our wangs and go play with it. It was crazy work.
Yeah, I kind of loved it. And I didn't feel the need to. I felt the audience was going with it. They could figure it out
Sorry
where.
for hanging a lantern on it. Also a dick joke. All right, great.
Right. If you can hang a lantern off of it, great. Um, but, uh, you know, the general expectation, and even in the trailer played before the campfire, they talk about the introduction of the tower, and we are then told, well, we will not be getting the tower in season 11 immediately. It can happen, but we're not gonna toss it out right away. So lots of people upset. Where do you fall on that?
Oh boy. Well, I am a Blizzard shill, so they can do no wrong. No, so that I think the big mistake here on their part is allowing the gauntlet to happen again. So it was we were we were sold on the tower being part of this season ahead of schedule. That was part of what we were sold on. The roadmap said leaderboards weren't coming until next year.
Hmm.
We got a very excited Zavin saying that's happening this year, and we all went finally. This goes all the way back to before the game released. One of the first things we were telling the devs was, "Oh, you guys are going to have like a ladder leaderboard at least, right? Like a level whatever leaderboard, something." And the big problem was clearly either there was more work that needed to be done, or they didn't want to release it right before Christmas and then leave. Right? Those are the two big concerns. either way, they had it slated for January. It seems like they prepared for it for January, and it's just communication error. The issue, though, is because enough people have been slightly burned by enough small indiscretions, some big things, some expectations. Blizzard can't currently afford slip ups to just get ignored or just be like, okay. So I'll do the political response, the politician response. I would rather it be the best that it can be and then get it. But it's also going to be a beta. So it's kind of like just throw it out there if it's a beta. Like they're chalking it up as a beta, and it is. And people should have that expectation. But they have to be able to trust that that matters. So if it's a beta, drop it. And if it's crap and people get upset, it's because the conviction of the statement is a beta isn't understood well enough. So if we're waiting for it to get polished, or if we're waiting for it to be later so it'll be received better, that kind of gives it the expectation of a fully fledged content type. It's straddling this weird line. We should expect it to be a beta. It sucks that it's not coming out. I think playing a season is fun enough without it. Else, I wouldn't have enjoyed the last 10 seasons. And the one thing I think that they could do really well here, if you're on the Reddit, if you're in the forums, people are always saying like, "Hey, why aren't there bigger events like mid-season events? Why aren't we doing like WoW level, holiday events?" Make the tower coming out be a whole thing. Have it have a quest that leads up to it, and then you finish the quest, and it says in 1 day, in 12 hours time, this unlocks. Like, make it an Encourage rollout. Because if it's going to come out later into the season, use that as an opportunity to get people back in the seats playing the game. As opposed to what it's kind of being painted right now, it's like, well, I'm not going to come back a month in and play more. Like, well, you want a reason to play the season for longer. And if the game supports it as a reason to come back and play, then I think you start getting into a win-win situation. It's all about the spin and then making people feel happy that they're not getting scammed, basically.
Right. Yeah, I I think you are spot on when it comes to that uh, lack of goodwill, right? The trust with Diablo in the past two iterations has been eroded, right? We were told we were going to get, we can go like in terms of promises not kept. Like you can go back to Diablo 3. There was supposed to be PvP and that never transpired. Um, like we saw arenas and like it seemed cool. I regret the fact that I never made it to the BlizzCon that had it because I'd heard nothing but good things. It sounded like it would be a good time. And then we go to leaderboards not being there at the start of Diablo 4 and then we get the gauntlet and then the gauntlet goes away. um it's just this sticking point with this for a person like myself. I have never felt the need. I don't find as much value in it. I do like the first couple days of a season, just be like, oh, look at me, I'm doing okay-ish. Or from a build standpoint, and obviously, Max Roll and others are great ways to go and find other builds. But it's nice to be like, oh, what's working for other people that maybe
Yep.
I just don't know of, and having a leaderboard is a nice little insight into that. I think that's the value I find the most in it. But other than that, to me, it's not that big of a deal, and it not being there at launch isn't going to dissuade me by any means to playing. I'm not like throwing my hands in the air and canceling anything.
Right. Yeah, that you touched on something I think is really, really important to kind of to hang a lantern on. There are people who go, I don't care about competing. Why are we worrying so much about the tower? And also immediately saying the kind of stuff that we're just like, this is a waste of developer time, which I hate. Like we handle developer time as if we have any insight into it when we just don't. Regardless, though, people don't really get how important it is to have a leaderboard that Johnny Five Kids can go open up and go see, like, where am I on it? Oh, I'm at 17,000. I was just at 20,000. I must have gotten a really good time. And then also go, what are the best builds right now? Oh, why are they using that skill in that item? And maybe they go and they try to look up a guide and they go, oh, they're using it because having a leaderboard where you can go look at somebody's profile is such, to me, it's such an integral, important aspect that helps with the education process of players, which is like, if somebody hasn't heard me say more, more educating moments in the video game for players, they've never heard me on a product before because I, I am apparently a lobbyist for education. Sue me, but it's so good and so important, and it makes the entirety of the universe that you're playing inside of feel like there's actually a community there doing stuff. Because right now, what do you see? You see trade chat, and you see people out of World Boss, and you use Group Finder sometimes. And if you
Some
don't
of
have
the
a group
time.
of friends, sometimes, and I forget Group Finder exists, but unless you have a clan, unless you have a group of friends playing, other than people walking around the town, it's not like you're going into BattleNet and seeing all the game lobbies, right? You're not seeing the chat going constantly of just people just screaming into the ether. Having that leaderboard, to me, makes the whole game population feel like it's real and there and like you're doing something, and other people could come across you and it's like, oh, I managed to get a good time, or I managed to clear a pretty high pit. People who aren't content creators get to have a voice, right? Just because they can't afford a camera and a microphone doesn't mean there aren't amazing players out there who are significantly better than me at playing. That, I promise you, I might be top 10, I might be top 100. I'm never going to have the top spot on any of these leaderboards, regardless of what I'm doing. I don't have the patience for it. But they get to have a voice, and they get to make their name. And then people are like, oh, dude, triple X killer 7420 is crushing the barbarian hardcore leaderboard. It's really really important. I'll stop bloviating about it, but that's
No,
the thing that I think that I'm the most upset that we're missing out on is that part of it. I don't care about getting number one. I care about not seeing people.
no, I think that it is valid though in terms of like you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you are in the game playing, a druid and slapping together a build, and you're like, okay, so why is it when I'm on the leaderboard everybody's using Grizzly Rage? I thought that was a shitty skill. It didn't seem to make sense. What's making that work? And then it makes you ask the question, which then pushes you to find out the answer. And then you learn a little bit more about the skill. You learn more about the class. You look up a build guide, or you're just investigating that person's stuff, and you're like, okay, I can make this work. Or better yet, if you have the ability to be like, I really like this skill. How do I make this work? As opposed to how do I just copy what is working the best? Like, um, for anybody who plays Path of Exile, there's a website. It's PoE Ninja, where it just is. It's a full compilation of all the builds, and you can just search by skill. So like you can see, yeah, your top 100 liches or whatever. But like, what if I just like this skill? Is anybody able to make this work? And they're charting on the ladder. All right, there are two people doing it, which means one, it's doable, and now I have two models to kind of go off of. I fucking love that. Like that is so cool to like dig into and be like, okay, yeah, it's not the most popular thing, but somebody made it work. I could do that, maybe.
Maybe, but that maybe that's the important part. It is, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And now that person is reading a tooltip they had literally written off because they're like, oh, it says, oh, because it does, oh, all right, I'll incorporate that. It's just really important. So yes, it sucks that we have to wait until January, right? But it's coming. It's going to be a beta. I gotta really stress that. Day one, you're gonna have infinite damage bug causing nonsense. It also does mean that if there are weird bugs that hit, like post PTR, they'll have basically 2 or 3 weeks minimum to get all of that ironed out before we walk into
Right.
the first beta, so that all of that initial data isn't crap based off of bugs and whatever exploits or whatever.
I'd be curious if they want to hold it in beta until they can implement a solo self found.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, buddy. So people have been. This is another very funny thing. People are like, well, why does solo self-found matter? I always play solo self-found. I just don't trade. Solo self-found is just there for dick measuring. Straight up, it's just there for dick measuring. The big thing about solo self-found is that just like playing on hardcore adds a kind of accolade to what you have accomplished, even though the game isn't different, it's just if you die, you got to go again. Solo self-found makes it a lot more about the metrics that are based on the player for competition. It's, do you have a good strategy for leveling? It measures how good you are at every part of the game, because being able to trade shortcuts so many parts of the game's progression that you don't have to be good at those things. I played solo self-found for the first time this past season, season 10. I have 120 hours on my character. I made every single myth. I solo grinded my runes and cubed them up. I made every mythic I could want. I have every chaos unique I could want. I made a Ring of Starless Skies after grinding runes for like 2 days and finally managed to cube up the ohms that I needed. Also, Blizzard bring back the Roderick Cube so that people know what I'm saying when I say cubed up my runes. And I made my Ring of Starless Skies and it got a shitty GA and I didn't care. It was like the most satisfying moment playing Diablo 4 since its inception. Like since I dropped my first ever mythic, I've been chasing that feeling and I got it this season. So it rewards you for being a better player. It allows you to compete with other people who you know are good at every part of the game. Because the moment that you don't get number one, every human being, or unless you are literally Buddha, starts to kind of make excuses a little bit. They're like, oh, well, they probably RMT, or oh, well, they probably got lucky on that drop, or it's just their masterworking crits were better than mine. And solo self found lets you fully measure how good you are at the game and show that off. And that's why it's so important. On top of removing real money transactions from the game and removing exploits from the game, and the insanely powerful benefit that you get from just being in a group and having people funnel gear to you.
Yeah, I think for me that is the biggest component of it, of like, as you're saying, like going through all that work to get your Ring of Starless Skies, the amount of time that took, and yeah, you had it, and now you're able to get, let's say, the top 20 or what have you, and then at the top is a guy who bought, you know, 500 Belial runs or whatever else it might be, and I was able to get that Starless Skies in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, somewhere in there, just because they were able to purchase the runs, as opposed to, like, I think of like the amount of boss runs I'm able to do when I'm slowly grinding everything out myself.
Yep.
It is nowhere near the amount that you can go and purchase rather quickly. So yeah, I think it would be much more valid, and then it's just nice to know that you're surrounded by other people who are doing the exact same thing. You're being measured against like competition. I will never fault somebody for playing more than me. I will fault
Oh
people
yeah, no.
for using RMT, right? Because that's
Yeah.
just takes the fun out of it.
It's like the last thing that everybody who wants to apply morality to playing video games, which is like a very grandiose reality, but it's the last thing that we kind of all agree on. It's like, well, that's doing it wrong. Me personally, me personally, and this is not me saying go RMT. It's obviously against terms of service. I don't care what a grown adult spends their money on, or I don't care if an adult wants to buy their kid gear. I don't care if somebody goes, I legitimately don't like getting the gear. I just like playing the game, and they buy. I do not care at all. It is only in the form of competition where I actually have a problem with it, and competition cannot be solved because you can't stop RMT. There's no way to do it. I used to trade Neo points for forum gold on D2JSP to get stuff in Diablo 2. You are not going to stop RMT. Nobody's ever found out a way to do it without not having trade. And that's the ticket. You have to not have trade, and that's where Soul of Soulbound comes in. And we can all agree we should hold on to this last ideal. We should disparage people from getting an unfair advantage by spending money in a video game because pay to win sucks. And I'm glad we can at least hold on to that one thing. Everything else we can disagree on.
Yeah,
That
we're.
one we've got it figured out.
I feel like the two. I mean, there are many ARPGs, but the two large ones right now, Path of Exile and Diablo 4, that might be the only thing that they can agree on. Oh, and then hating
Yep.
the game. They both hate their own games.
Oh, each subreddit is on fire right now. It is like it turns out being a game developer and making a popular ARPG, regardless of whether or not you're the vision or taking feedback, insert meme from each fandom, it's just hard to keep your fans happy no matter what you do. And shout outs to them for
Yeah.
choosing to keep making art, I guess.
I think my personal favorite when it comes to ARPGs is just that the real end game is complaining about the end game. Like that that seems to be a big commonality for both, is that we're going to just start complaining about it. Maybe one happens sooner than the other, but that's about it. Um, but okay, so we have two things in common. No no RMT, and we hate our end game. That's it. And never the twain shall meet again. Okay, we've spent a lot of time on
Way too much time.
leaderboards, and that's okay. That's okay. Like this was good. Um, let's rush through because we got to get to speculation station. That train. I mean, rush. If you didn't like my train noise there, you can edit in something else. But we'll get to speculation station. Um, the rest of the campfire, as we're kind of looking over it here, the tree, or not the tree, the leaderboards not being there, and then toughness. You got to explain it to me. What am I doing with toughness here?
Okay, so toughness is better than what it was before. It's just harder for somebody to give you a number, and that's the thing that sucks. So what toughness represents is something called your effective hit points. What this means is the maximum amount of damage you could take from a source. To understand that, you have to know that there are different damage tags in the game. There is physical, cold, fire, lightning, poison, shadow, and I think that's all of them. Yes,
Cold
I'm going to say
fire,
that's all of them.
shadow, poison. Yeah.
So so when a big old Khazra comes up and hits you with an axe, he's done physical damage. When his shaman shoots, the Palpatine power lightning bolt at you, that's lightning damage. Toughness is a representative of how much damage you could take from each source. So when you read you have 150,000 toughness, all that is you take your maximum life and you divide it by how much damage your armor reduces, because armor reduces all damage, and then divided by the amount of damage that your elemental resistance reduces by. You then add on anything that says you have damage reduction. Each one of those are separate multipliers, and that's how you get up to this number. You'll also notice in the PTR when you got barrier, which should just multiply your life by how much barrier of your maximum life you have, so up to 2. For some reason, that thing just kept scaling, so people are getting up to millions and millions. That's not accurate. Why is this? Why did they need to make this change? Which I think is what a lot of people are kind of trying to figure out, right? Because it was so easy. Get up to 1,000 armor, get up to 75 resistance, maybe get more maximum resistance if you're using Tyrael's Might. The issue with that is that every class is not made equal. So the barbarian being armor and res capped and the rogue being armor and res capped take two significantly different amounts of damage. Why is that? Because they can no longer invest more in survivability other than maximum life. Maximum life is the biggest contributor because oddly enough, you can have infinite armor and infinite res, but if you have no life, you're dead. But if you can get up to 20,000 maximum life and I can get up to 50,000 maximum life, before there wasn't a number to show that difference because that's not everything that's going on. Because if you can get up to like twice my life, but I can get more damage reduction, I'm actually tankier than you. And there was no way for you to know this in game without just fully understanding all those things. And considering all people really knew was get to 1,000 armor, get to 75 res, and maybe have like 10k life. A lot of people didn't know. So to wrap that all back up into a nice bow, what toughness now allows them to do is to see where each class realistically gets up to. Not even each class, each build realistically gets up to. And it turns out if the rogue can only reach 100,000 toughness and the barb can reach 1,000,000 toughness, there's a problem there because those two classes aren't going to be able to go do the same content. What it also means is that you now have a much better number to go by, and you can actually keep investing in it. Like if you actually want to make an unkillable character, you could just put armor and res and maximum life on every single piece of gear. You will do dick all for damage, but you won't die. Before, you couldn't say that because your only vector for gaining more survivability was maximum life. And since everything was based off maximum life, like barriers based off maximum life, effectiveness of damage reduction is based off of how much maximum life you have. They just couldn't. They couldn't balance the game. Now, when I first saw toughness, I went, I hate this. Not because I don't understand it, not because I can't figure it out, but because I can't now just give somebody a number. The game has become harder to understand, but has increased the ability for the player to educate themselves about why they're dying. They're going to open up their toughness screen and they're going to go, I have 180,000 toughness. Why am I dying? I go, well, you have 180,000 fire toughness. You have 10,000 physical toughness. What are you doing? And they'll go, oh, I just figured stacking up one res was good. I go, no, you actually need all resistances. And they go, oh, now I understand that I need all resistances. And it goes deeper than that too, but that's just like a baseline thing. Did I get it? Did I do it? Do you feel good now? Are you comfortable?
I don't think I feel good yet. Um, but I think I have a better understanding of it. We talked a little bit about it on our last pod. I think the big mistake with toughness is calling it still toughness. Um, it, to have had the system for as long as they did, and then to change it, and then to walk it back with the same name, a new coat of paint would have done wonders. Or I think it's like harder to shake. Like, well, I didn't like toughness before, and this is just toughness 2 electric boogaloo. Like it doesn't work for me. But I get it. I do understand that from a scaling standpoint, and I like the thought of doing 0 damage and being unkillable. That I want that character. That's my goal for season 11 now. Um, I'll let you know. I'll let you know how effective I was at actually making that work. Uh,
Trying to
okay.
get back down to 17 damage on the druid. That's a powerful.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the meme alive in 2025. I love it.
I mean, after the season that the Druid just had, I would expect they're going to be brought down to reality because, man, that was too fun. I actually don't even think I can play Druid in season 11 just because I'm not going to be able to do a tornado Ravens Druid. Like, it just doesn't, it's not going to feel right. Macro, it's not going to feel right. It makes me sad all day.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll play something else. But what will that be? Um, we're not there yet. We're not at speculation station, but I keep
We're not at
wanting to
speculation
go.
station yet. The train is still far off. 10 minutes out, probably.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. Okay. So other leanings from the campfire, if we're looking masterworking and sanctification, what should your average player uh, that's coming back know about those two things? Would you say? What do you think is like the big takeaway from obviously? Well, we got masterworking, tempering, and sanctification. So we've got 3 ways to fuck up our items or not fuck them up anymore.
So I'll try to put a nice little bow on it. The three things that people should know if they haven't really been following along. Tempering sucked. So what they've changed it to is that you just get to pick what temper you want, and now the RNG comes from rolling between the minimum and the maximum. So it used to be you could get like 1 to 2 ranks to one of these passives. Now you can keep re-rolling until you hit the perfect outcome. It'll cost the same scroll that it did previously, And the cool thing that they've added is that, and I don't know what the chance, I'm just going to say 1 in 100 just to throw it out there. 1 in 100 times that you temper, you're going to get a greater affixed temper. So that means it's going to be a perfect roll plus 50%. So that's very cool. They took tempering, which has sucked, and they made it quote unquote deterministic. You can now choose to have a minimum viable product, and then you can keep grinding for a perfect outcome, and you are rewarded for doing so. Masterworking, similarly, masterworking sucked because of how much of a slap in the face it was once you had good enough gear. Once you had good enough gear, I just stopped masterworking, but people knew you could get perfect outcomes. So they would go grind out 1,000,000 billion Obdicite and gold and then keep re-rolling in town. I have no problem with that. I have every problem with half of the time you're playing the game is sitting in town clicking a button simulator, which is not cool. Now, though, it's kind of a mix between what blacksmithing was before and what masterworking became. When you masterwork it, you're going to increase all of your stats now, not just the armor and not just the affixes, but all of them altogether. And then at the end, rather than getting a masterwork crit, you're going to get something called a capstone. A capstone is basically like a greater affix because it adds 50% onto a bonus, except it can also hit a greater affix. So now your best stat that already had a GA on it, that kind of was like the end of the road for it before. I'm going to put this Carmix down. We're not sponsored by Carmix, sorry. that's my
Maybe.
fidget toy.
That's fair.
You'll see. I've rubbed down. This is my fidget toy. So people just listening to this podcast think I'm a psychopath. They have no idea what I'm talking about. But now you can get this like additional 50% bonus on top of a greater affix. I think that this is probably the best middle ground that they could have reached. Your items are still weaker than they were in Season 10. Like, if you take all the bonuses that we get from masterworking, the stats on your gear are going to be lower than Season 10, but they're going to be significantly higher than they were in the PTR. So we've kind of leveled out that drop in power. So people are like, oh my God, they're nerfing us, which I think that they needed to, but apparently they didn't like that backlash so much. They heard you, and they have unnerfed us a bit. So the casual player, they're not even going to notice the difference, to be quite honest. They're just going to have a cooler time masterworking. Sanctification. If people have never seen Sanctification before, this is Vol Orbs from Path of Exile 2. This is Worldstone Shards from Project Diablo 2, which is just Vol Orbs from PoE. Well, they're in PoE 1 as well. I'm just most recently played PoE 2. And it is corrupting your gear, or in this way, sanctifying your gear, which is confusing because sanctification is also a thing in PoE, which is not what this is. And it has a chance to add on a generic aspect. It has a chance to add on a new affix, just another stat entirely that are much stronger than regular stats. It has a chance to add on more quality, so that thing for masterworking. This is really good on weapons because increasing the quality increases the base damage of the weapon, so it's actually very strong. And it also has a chance to replace an affix. It also can add on a greater affix, but that one's not as important. People got really upset about the idea of replacing affixes because what if you brick an item? Meaning, what if you take your GA cooldown reduction Shaco and replace that cooldown reduction with plus to physical damage? Now you have Shaco that doesn't work for you. Well, they've made it so that you can't do that to uniques and mythic uniques. So those items are safe. Add on to that, it was a 2.5% chance for this to occur if you were to sanctify, if you had a piece of gear that had a stat that couldn't be replaced, and the sanctified outcome wouldn't be the same stat, which it could be. That's a lot of mumbo jumbo. It was a very, very, very small percentage for it to happen, and this is important for it. God damn it, put down the Carmix. This is very important for the gambling to have value. Some people don't like gambling, so this is, I think, another very good, happy middle ground. You're never going to brick a mythic. So basically, people shouldn't be upset about its current implementation. That's powerful to say. People are going to be upset no matter what I say. But hopefully, if that was your big concern, that's gone. So you can just go back to enjoying, I think, arguably the best thing ever added to an ARPG. I think that PoE got it right away. I think Vol Orbs are awesome. I've played with it in multiple games, 3 games at this point. It is so good. It's so much fun. It's just an amazing way to increase not only your enjoyment of farming, but to also take items that otherwise wouldn't be an upgrade and give them a great chance to be something cool. Because how does it go right now? Sure, you're upgrading your gear, you're leveling, you're upgrading your gear, you hit like Paragon 200, and you kind of stop replacing your gear at that point, right? Like you check all the loot on the ground, but you never really find anything that's an upgrade because you don't want to go remaster work, you don't want to go retemper, and you don't want to resocket it and go imprint it, enchant it. But now, when you hit that point where you're not really progressing your gear anymore, any piece of gear you find that has at least 1 to 2 good stats, you go toss it in, you temper it up real quick, you masterwork it up real quick, and then you go gamble. And you go, is this now better than my gear? And if it is, you get to go gamble on the gear you already had. Because what if you hit a replacement, you're like, oh my god, this is actually great, and I'm gonna replace this ring that I don't need anymore, and you put it right in the gamble box. And maybe that thing hits a big two. That's that's the best part of it for me. It's items on the ground gain a lot of value if literally every one of them can be an upgrade because this system exists. So I'm really hoping they find a way to keep it in the game because I think this is required in ARPGs for them to have end game crafting chases, basically.
I feel like it works just genuinely well with the way loot does in Diablo, right? You know you're going to get the pieces you need to make your build work, right? You have those required unique items, and then you'll find the other various rares or legendaries. I hate legendaries in general, but whatever. You'll find them. You'll find the pieces that you need, and then you find more of them. You find more copies. Why wouldn't you toss them into the chipper and see what happens? Because then that's exciting. Then that I'm still excited to find the exact same thing I'm wearing because I can do something with it.
Yeah, I have 5 pairs of the same unique pants. I just tossed them all in the chipper. One of them got another aspect on them, and now they're twice as strong for my build. That's the other part about it that's very cool is it's not all just damage, right? Everybody's going to people who are going to be like pushing in the tower in the pit. They're going to be like, okay, I need these 3 offensive aspects, and I need these 3 outcomes that increase my shadow damage. That's that's all well and good, and that is exciting, and people like number go up. Here's the thing that's really cool. Okay, I have this ring, and my character's kind of been struggling. I've been using the Cax rune that keeps eating all my resource, and it makes the gameplay a little bit janky. And I hit my ring, and I sanctify it, and I got a resource management aspect. In the game right now, you can never really afford to use a resource aspect because you need to have an offensive aspect on every single piece of gear for damage scaling. But now your ring goes back to solving resource for you, and now your gameplay just feels so much better. It takes out so much of the clunkiness. You're never running out of resource anymore. You don't have to worry about that. You can use whatever runes you want. You can use whatever skills you want. Oh, I slammed these unique pants, and I got a damage reduction aspect. Oh, all of a sudden I'm a lot tankier. Oh, I'm so much tankier. I can actually afford to put more damage onto other gear slots that I otherwise couldn't because I needed armor and res and maximum life or whatever. But now that I hit this defensive aspect, I get to completely re-itemize. It's every outcome from sanctification should make you ask the question, oh, could I optimize my build a little bit better because of this? Maybe I got a little cooldown reduction. Maybe I got a little bit of attack speed, so now I'm hitting the last breakpoint. Maybe I got more crit chance, so I don't need the Masterwork Capstone on my Ring of Starless Skies crit, so I can swap it over to core stats or core skills. Oh, cool! I managed to eke out like another like 5-10% damage. It's going to give people so many more avenues to actually explore their gear. So now you're not just salvaging everything, you're asking the question, could this thing be a replacement? And could this thing now solve some new feature or function of my build? And that's the cool part for me.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to messing around with it and seeing what shows up. All right. Before we depart for the station, is there anything left from the PTR you want to talk about, or from the fireside?
Is there anything else from the campfire chat? People should just generally expect progressing in the pit to be a bit easier. A couple things kind of flew under the radar, weren't exactly explicitly spelled out, but they've taken a big balance approach to the elites that were in stuff, to like boss monster health, and to pit scaling in general. So if all of a sudden your build is doing like 5 to 10 pit tiers higher than you would have expected it to do in season 9, that's why. I think this is one of those things where raising the floor of what a minimum viable build is helps people to be able to play their build without feeling like they're missing out on playing the meta. You can never keep meta chasers happy if their favorite build isn't the meta build, so they can't really succeed at that. But I know so many people who like recently are like, "Oh, I just hit pit tier 80 on my build and I consider that a success." I think the floor has kind of come up for what your off meta build is going to be able to do, and I think that that's a good thing. This might look different once we get to the point of like maybe there's more difficulty scaling, more torment tiers, and all of that. But at least right now, the game that you're going to be playing in this upcoming season, I would expect there to be less whiplash from season 10 than people are expecting.
That's fair. I'm curious to mess around with a little bit more of the monster families. You know, new is always exciting. Speaking of which,
Speaking, perfect segue.
I'm
Damn, you are
leaving
literally the best in the business.
it. let's let's talk the Game Awards. So this podcast is being recorded on December 7th, right? The Game Awards are happening this Thursday. We are just days away. And ideally, this podcast is in your ears and at your face, right? Face, I guess, at your face. It's at your face. Um, and before that, what we know is something Diablo related is going to happen on Thursday. Now, we are both Diablo partners. And I can tell you with 100% honesty that we both know nothing. We did not get any sort of secret information. We didn't get, I'm not signed an NDA. So everything that is happening right here, right now, is pure speculation. There's no guarantee. But, but there's a shit ton of smoke. There's a shit ton of smoke. So let's talk about it. So, first and foremost, we've been hearing that we need to pay attention to the Game Awards. Let's do this in levels. Let's do this from the most basic speculation that we have. The lowest level, just, like, okay, I'm glad I tuned in to eventually we'll get up to that just blew my freaking mind. So I'm glad I tuned in. What is the I'm glad I tuned in Game Awards announcement for Diablo Macro?
It's expansion reveal, right? It's the trailer for the expansion. We get another fantastic performance by Halsey singing some cool now it's Mephisto music time, and we get an expansion reveal. It's that was probably top of the ticket mind of, oh, of course we're going to. We've seen Diablo at the Game Awards in the past. The moment they said you should probably check out the Game Awards, was like, oh, finally we're going to get the expansion reveal. We know it's coming in 2026. The roadmap doesn't tell us exactly when, and that one seems the most obvious.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of logic there. There's a good history of Diablo at the Game Awards. It's a huge audience. We know the expansion, and you're absolutely right. It'll be an amazing cinematic. They're all like, does Blizzard in general miss when it comes to a cinematic? No,
Not once.
like,
It's never
I mean,
happened.
always amazing. But yeah, I think that feels safe. That is a safe announcement. That's what we tune into the Game Awards for as well. We tune in for announcements and there's a lot of like, oh yeah, I expected that announcement. So like, and then occasionally there's a few surprises, right? Um, seeing a little bit of The Witcher 4 last year, seeing a little bit of The Heretic Prophecy by Naughty Dog, or Heretic Prophet, I believe it is. Um, yeah, there's some cool things that get tossed around. So a few weeks ago, I was like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to tune in and I'll chalk it up to the list of other things that I can, expect later in 2026. Then there was a statue in the desert. Um,
Can I cut you off on the statue?
yeah,
I looked at the statue and I went, there aren't alligators in Diablo 4.
I
This has
know
nothing to do with
that was
Diablo
my
4.
first that was my first thought.
I was like, what are these animals? I was like, oh, maybe it's God of War. Like maybe we're finally going to Egypt.
Right.
Also, shout out to the one person who I said, why would God of War ever have anything to do with Egypt? That's not Norse mythology. I still
Oh,
I still think
buddy.
about that comment that I read. Do you know that Kratos is not the god of Norse mythology of war?
No.
Uh, Sorry, I just had to. I didn't see it. It looked a lot more like a FromSoft thing for me. Like that it gave me like big like Bloodborne energy.
I would kill for that. But it did at least get a little bit more hype, right? Because like
Yes,
quickly it was like, okay, what is this? And all right, well, it's got like a portal, it looks demonic, it's Diablo, and 100%. There's no fucking crocodiles in Diablo that I'm aware of, unless we're finally getting that new druid form, which would be cool. Like,
aquatic form, baby.
right?
Let's go.
Or hey, druids, you don't get a bear pet, but how about a crocodile? Either one is fine. But it did get people talking. People were trying to speculate,
It,
and
very much so.
we got friend of the show, Jason Schreier, chiming in, and he's the one who locked it down and said, no, it is not Diablo. Though like I have heard things, right? He knows there's gonna be something Diablo related there, as we all do. But there's like this insinuation that maybe it's bigger. It's bigger than this, and you got to start asking questions. We keep getting told multiple times to pay attention to the Game Awards. And then we had another major shift. When do we start seasons, Macro? When do we start seasons?
So, for people who don't know, it's typically on a Tuesday. The reason why it's on a Tuesday, people ask why isn't it on the weekend, is because if you start in the middle of the week when people are working, there aren't people who would be out of the office working over the weekend for a season. That's why. That's why we get it. Also helps us to iron out some things before we walk into the weekend when the majority of people are going to be playing. So shout outs to having a good work-life balance for developers. But it typically starts on Tuesday, and not only that, we know when the next season will start because the reliquary will end on the same day. So when the season ends, when you can no longer get those cosmetics, is because the next season is starting on that same day. So we had December 9th locked down now for like 2 months. There was an official announcement, and sometimes they have they've extended a season or cut a season short for the expansion. Is the last time that we saw that. But we've been on a 3-month cycle for expansions now successfully since that point. So we were all sure Tuesday. I was preparing for Tuesday. I was updating guides for this Tuesday. I still am. They're going to be out. Shout outs to the work that we're doing there. But typically a Tuesday, Xanth.
Yeah.
Game Awards
Uh,
isn't on a Tuesday, is it?
it isn't. The Game Awards is on a Thursday. And now during the the campfire chat, I keep saying fireside chat as if it's like FDR is
Oh yeah,
doling
sure.
out information here. Um, and I say that as if I was old enough to have listened to a fireside chat with FDR. I'm like, oh, in my day, that's not the case. There are campfire chats, but during the campfire, the other big bit that we kind of passed by because we needed it for speculation station here is that the season's gonna start about a half an hour after the Game Awards.
Which is late as all hell. So remember that whole thing I
Yeah.
just said about the devs having work-life balance and not wanting them to be, working when they would typically be out of the office. A season starting at 8:30 p.m. on a Thursday in California time, which is
Yep.
where Blizzard is. That's a weird start time. I've done a lot of midnight go lives back when I was a corporate drone. Uh, I promise you, I didn't want to be in the office at 8:30. And
No.
Marcus at the end of the campfire chat said, "Y'all should really tune into the Game Awards, and then we're going to start the season a half hour after the Game Awards ends." That's interesting. It's almost like it's enough time for people to make sure they're got their client updated and make sure maybe they've checked out a shop or something, or maybe checked out battle.net
Or
slash
did
store
some
or something.
things. Now, let's play devil's advocate. There is one other thing that is happening simultaneously with the Game Awards when it comes to Diablo on the other side of the world.
Which is the release of the official Chinese servers maintained by NetEase, which I saw people talking about this recently. They are separate servers. Like people in China, oddly enough, have been able to play Diablo 4 this entire time. They get a VPN, they're able to log into servers. These are, as far as I understand it, separate maintained servers by NetEase. They're going to have some pay to win models over there. They're like getting like XP bonuses and stuff like that. They really like doing stuff like that over there for like a couple extra yuan. But yeah, so maybe it's just that the Chinese servers are going live.
And I imagine that, like, if you are launching a season and the servers in China are going up at the same time, having to do a double launch, maybe they don't want to do that. Maybe it's just like, nope,
Right.
US and China are on the exact same time. Coincidentally, it happens during the Game Awards, which is like, okay, like we can rip the layers off
And
here,
like
but
and like I don't need to watch the Game Awards to know that there are people in China booting Diablo 4 for the first time. We're not gonna. It's not gonna be a live watch party. They're not gonna be showing, like data cafes or like gaming cafes with people in them. Shout outs to them. I'm very excited that they're finally going to have, that big cool rock version of Wandering Death. If you haven't seen it, it's the funniest thing on the planet. But you got to keep going though, because there is more.
yeah,
There is more
there
smoke.
is more smoke. It can't just be that. But what I will say is the wheels turning in my head as I was finding out about the date, because like that to me was this is bigger than just a trailer. This is bigger than just a Blizzard cinematic. We are going to tune in and find out all of that. But we don't need to be there for it, right? I don't need to see that trailer so I can start my season, right? The season could start on a Tuesday, or it could start before the show, or it could start on Friday. It doesn't have to be connected. So there's a little bit more though, because after the campfire, we start getting maybe some images that don't make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, so we get the official blog post, which
Mm-hmm.
is highlighting the season, and it's also highlighting the reliquary. And in the reliquary, you get cosmetics. And those cosmetics have always been interesting. Sharp eyed people will notice that last season, we got like a standalone, like beautiful ruby emblem emblazoned sword and shield for only my class to use, which is the least necromancer looking thing on the planet, but I equipped it. It was cool looking. But in one of the extra images of the things you get in the reliquary, just kind of down at the bottom, there is a picture of three weapons. They're very cool looking weapons.
Mm-hmm.
There is a double sided halberd, so like clearly like some kind of pole arm for the Spiritborn. There is a two handed mace, and then just a flail. It's
Yeah,
it's it's
it
just a
looks
flail.
very flail-esque. I
It's
mean,
it is it's it could be the most hardcore censor ever. If people don't know what censor is, if you ever seen, like a Catholic priest walking down an aisle shaking that
right.
little metal thing with that's a censor. It could be a cool censor for no holy classes in the game. It's a flail. It looks like a
Yeah.
crusader weapon is what it looks like, which immediately made my heart drop. Because if we're going to get a holy class, I don't want the Crusader from Diablo 3, I'll be honest with you. But if it's got to be, it's got to be. But that's what people are really shining a light on. It's like, what's that? what's
Right.
what's that doing there?
Which again comes back to this thing of like the game awards are a huge deal. Like a lot of people pay attention to what happens there because there are so few avenues for people to get new game information anymore. A lot of your E3s and other organizations have kind of crumbled, and what is left is the Game Awards, where we can honor the best or what is considered the best games of the year, and predominantly
Dominantly.
the Game
Yeah.
Awards is 2 hours of just advertisements for
Oh,
upcoming games.
it's crazy. It's crazy that like half of what I'm watching the Game Awards is ads, and then they'll cut to ad breaks. I'm
and
like,
and it's
this has got to be the most impressions per. This has to be like Super Bowl levels of the most impressions. Just like obviously at a different scale, but damn, it
yeah,
hurts a little bit.
I mean sometimes it's hard to discern what was an actual game being advertised versus an ad being advertised. But to be there, you do have a lot of eyes on your thing. And for Diablo 4 years ago, it made sense to be at the Game Awards and to be announcing things because it been a decade. You're pushing out the date, you're pushing out pre-sales. Why else would you block off time and attention for the second expansion, right? If it is just to announce that the second expansion of Diablo 4 exists, you're not trying. Like, we know that it's going to happen. The people in the field know. Why do you do that at the Game Awards if you don't want the people who have stopped playing to come back?
Right.
Do you get them to come back with a trailer? Not necessarily. They might think about it. Do you get them to come back with season 11 like we talked about with the campfire? Maybe.
Maybe.
I think you get them to come back if there's something brand new that they could touch right now.
So there's basically like there's two schools of thought out there right now. If you're following forums, there is they just dropped the expansion, which would be that's like when Sega just dropped the Dreamcast, right? When they're like, hey, we have our new system and you can go buy it right now. It didn't work out well for Sega, actually. It was actually a commercial flop. Rest in peace to the Dreamcast. So they could just drop the expansion, it, which would be insane. The reason why it would be insane is because you lose all of the marketing hype, right? The Game Awards is to drive marketing. That's what it ultimately is at the end of the day. We also get to tell a bunch of people that they've accomplished great things and hear awesome speeches, which is very cool from like the consumer base to actually be able to like see these people. Listening to the guy translate for Hideo Kojima is always fantastic. But it's to drive marketing. So obviously we get the expansion reveal. Maybe even they start doing pre-order stuff. Like I think the least speculative thing is it's pre-sale for expansion and you get in-game cosmetics and an in-game feature. And that's why they're waiting until the season start. That would be the lamest thing on the planet, but that's pretty marketing 101. Marketing is pretty lame. I don't need to be watching the Game Awards to start a season to get in-game cosmetics, right? Not
Right.
really. When they announced Vessel of Hatred, they said, "Hey, pets are coming, and everybody gets a pet right now." We can't get another pet. We
Right.
could get a new game system, a thing that's going to be in the expansion, but they're putting in early. But I think people are thinking we're getting a new class. Like that's
Well,
the thing that's exciting. That's the thing that gets people back, and that's the thing that makes this season stand up against PoE season at all.
yeah, I think that there's a lot of sense in the hey, whatever this is, if it's a paladin, a crusader, maybe we'll split the difference and call it a Templar, right? Um, if it's a Templar, I'm naming it John Dar, and you can't even stop me.
You can't stop me. I want it to be Templars so bad. I would love if it's going to be a holy class. One, give me a priest. I would like a priest. But
No,
if it's
no,
going to be a holy class, give it a new name. I want it to be. It's so wild, right? So
cleric.
where do we see cleric? I would love a cleric. I would love
Yep.
a cleric. But where have we seen them release classes before? So in Diablo 2, obviously with the expansion, you got two new classes. In Diablo 4, they have said basically they've said new class each expansion. That's basically the thing that they've put forward. So the idea of playing a class early is kind of crazy because that's much more akin to like when the Necromancer was released in D3, where it wasn't really an expansion. You were buying the Necromancer. And if they just said like, oh, you could just buy a character, I think most people would be fine, but I think that would be like also kind of the worst marketing way to go about doing it. I don't even know how you drop a class into a season when nobody is expecting it. I don't know. That would be crazy to me.
Right.
And it seems I don't know. We're like working ourselves up, right? That's the whole point of speculation station. It's like, well, it's obviously going to be a new
Yeah.
class, and
I
I go,
mean,
that's insane. That
well,
would be a wild thing to do.
I think, you know, when Vessel came out, and I brought this up on a previous pod, like when Vessel came out, they stretched it, they milked that for so long. It would be absolute insanity to go the reverse, where
Yep.
you are like, okay, here's the expansion. We're not going to say any of the cool shit that's in it. Nobody knows anything about it, and here it is. Go play it, and we'll talk again soon. I think that would be it would be amazing to see a big company like Blizzard do it. But I think what you're suggesting, as wild as it is, in terms of like the class, and then we'll get the expansion shortly, feels like the safer option, even though that is still well beyond what they would have ever done, even with something like Vessel. I feel like you have talked me into believing that more than my initial speculation that we're going to get the full thing on Thursday. Um, but then again, the other part, I keep going back to the tower of it all. Maybe, the tower's not quite right, and you would rather have all hands on deck for a complete launch of the expansion.
It's I me pretending as if I know what makes a company like Blizzard tick is the truest mark of hubris. I releasing a whole expansion and be like, all right, see you guys after Christmas. Don't
Yeah,
burn the
that
place to the ground would be like bananas. Absolutely bananas. I would even be like I would be fine with it's some kind of new system that gets added to the game and it leads up to like a quest throughout this season that leads us to know what's going to be the class in the expansion. Like that's my most conservative the reason why they think this is cool and why people won't be angry if it's not quite literally you could just buy a new class right now. And they're being very quiet. So, Xanth said it at the beginning. I am not playing coy. I do not know what is being announced at the Game Awards. I don't know. They have not told us. They're being quiet to us, or at least to the people that I know who get to talk to them. So something is happening. something something is happening. And obviously like loose lips sink ships, right? So it could be it could be anything. It could be here's Diablo 5. And
right.
that would be just as wild to me as any of the other options.
Yeah, I think it, in some ways, like you mentioned, it the silence has been very telling. Um, it's not like we are Diablo partners. That's not a flex. We end up knowing people, and to not know things is weird, and that to me makes me think it is more than what you're kind of describing. Like, all right, well, we got here's your new Mephisto goldfish, and
And
we
he's twice as good at picking. He picks up things your dog doesn't pick up, and
right.
he's really cool. And he cracks jokes like Rick and Morty. It's a new IP collab. Hold on, actually, we're kind of cooking
Shit,
here a
yeah.
little bit. Hold
Is this
on,
how
wait a
it
minute.
works? We
Is that
could.
how we got Berserk?
I
Is
think
that
it
how we
is.
get there? Yeah.
I didn't you just basically describe what is the name of that game where the gun talks to you?
Yeah, yeah, they're flubble bubble, whatever. It
Yeah,
has a ridiculous name.
I forget
Uh,
what it is. My son has it downloaded on our PlayStation. I could pull it up. Um,
oh, you know what I will say? You know what it better not be? It better not be like a mobile companion app, and it better not be like a new mobile game because people will actually burn Blizzard to the ground. They will go to wherever the Microsoft headquarters is and say, "Where is Dan Blizzard? I do need to speak to him." So like, don't make it be that.
yeah,
If you're gonna do that, say, "Oops, we forgot," and don't do that for us.
we decided to get a refund, and we will not be discussing the Game Awards for a bit. Um, no, it can't be. It just can't be safe. I do expect a full on trailer, and then at the bare minimum, what you discussed. Hey, pre-order now. Enjoy the cleric. Enjoy the paladin in season 11, and launch fully in March. Right, and we will see you early March for the launch of. I don't know what's the three-word acronym for this new expansion. We had VOH. Um,
Yeah.
ROS for Reaper Souls.
Oh yeah, they have all been three, haven't they? I never actually really tuned into that, huh?
Lord of
Well, it's
Destruction.
we assume that
Lord of
we're
Lies. It's got to be right.
oh, I can't, dude. Hey,
LOL.
first off, that would be insane. Second off, I don't really like Belial. Can I? If am
Diablo.
I
LOL. Come on.
Diablo? LOL. And you don't get Diablo again at the end of it. Hold on, we are double cooking right now.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's got to be like the end of hatred or
Yeah. Yeah.
bloom of whatever or
Lord of Hatred. Right. Oh well, no,
something.
no. Diablo is Lord of Hatred. Mephisto is Lord of.
No, Diablo is Lord of Terror.
Oh, yeah, Terror. That's
So
right. So
so
yeah, Hatred.
Mephisto is Lord of Hatred and Baal is Lord of Destruction.
Okay, so it would be Lord of Hatred.
hmm I
Mm,
do like that Diablo is supposed to be scarier than Mephisto.
what?
Mephisto is wearing a man's skin suit and is made out of floating skulls and dying spirits.
Yeah.
That's scary as hell. That's that. I don't have any really other insight to share. I just don't understand how Diablo is the Lord of Terror.
It's more what he represents than how he looks.
Yeah,
I think you're just
can't
judging
judge
him
a book
based
by
on
its
it.
cover.
Exactly.
Yeah,
See?
can't judge a demon by its cover. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think I would fully expect bare minimum class launch date, and then they've got 3 months of hype to like fill in. Like, okay, it's not just a class, right? Because no expansion is just class plus act. There's other
Right.
things. So, what is it? What's happening? Um, where's Tyrael been? I would love to know that.
Hey, I saw Hadriel before I saw Tyrael.
Right.
Excuse me?
What the hell? What is this
When
asshole doing here?
before I'd read it, like when I just saw the first picture, I went. My first thought was, "Oh, Dick Tyrael is back." And then everybody's like, "First off, that's not Tyrael." And I went, "I just get excited when I see angels." And I looked at him and went, "You're right. That's not. He's
No.
also just not an angel anymore like that." I I just look. I'm a Diablo 2 player. Tyrael's always been an angel to me. All
Yeah.
right.
And he always will be. Um, but again, it just it feels safe, or best case scenario, it's Thursday night. We're all downloading the new expansion, and I have to call into work on Friday so I can play.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
oh gosh. You know, it'd be really insane if like it's so let's say it's a class, right?
yeah.
What if it's just not a paladin? Like how? Like if the next class that comes to this game
Amazon.
isn't a paladin, and per everybody's request, it's the assassin, and I'm like, what? And she's here to kill Hadriel. Excuse me? What does that mean? That's that's a that's a ballsy move. I don't know if I would like because I'm classic. If people don't know, I'm classically anti paladin. I don't like him. All right, I don't like that he's your favorite. Fight me, but I think that would be insane. That would be so good. You could play the new class, and it's the Herodrum Artificer. You get to play as Narel, your favorite.
I'm just thinking like maybe grabbing somebody from D3. It's the Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor Fox. I would actually be
People
okay
actually
with
would
that.
be stoked about like I don't like the Witch Doctor, but people would
But
be stoked about the Witch Doctor.
Zombie Bears was just too much fun.
Giant wall of zombies that falls over. That's just funny. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't care who you are.
yeah, that was pretty great. But it would piss so many people off. It's a holy class. It has to be. You'll finally have some competition in your loot pool for a shield, so you can deal with that.
Finally. So when I
Uh,
pick one up, I won't just immediately salvage it. There might be some crusader out there looking to pair it with their flail.
Somebody's gonna want that.
Oh yeah.
So those are the two, I think, likely scenarios. We got class expansion date, or we've just got the full shadow drop. And a shadow drop to me, I want to believe it. I want to believe that that's what's going to happen. But I
But
think,
we also have 6626 coming up,
yeah,
which is close enough to three sixes that it's very good.
I would argue. So while Grand Theft Auto did get moved, I think you punch in your release date pretty early. We've known about the Grand Theft Auto early the other date for a while. I would think they probably would have wanted to avoid that, so moving it early. Um, and I've been trying to argue that I think it would be March for a while. March does make sense to me. Um, I think March still would be logical, but I'll settle for December now.
Yeah, sure. That's the other thing too, right? Because it was like, oh, BlizzCon is coming back,
Yeah.
and we don't have a date yet for the expansion. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm so excited to go to BlizzCon. I'm getting my tickets. I'm getting my stuff. My buddies are going to be flying out with me. They're just coming to BlizzCon because they want to go on a vacation, which is very cool. And when they were first like 2026 is the expansion, I went, oh, if you make me wait until BlizzCon, I I can't. I
Right.
can't wait that long for the expansion. I've been playing this game now for a while, and I need me an expansion. Um, but yeah, I don't know. The summer. Well, when is GTA's date? Do we have
It's
that?
been moved to October, if I'm
Mm,
correct. But initially it was March, June ish, if I recall.
mm. Yeah, for people who like aren't tuned into GTA and don't care at all, GTA 6 is going to be a moment in video gaming history. Uh, that's going to be tsunami levels of huge. So I do think you're right. You would like to have your game have any breathing room, and anybody trying to come out near GTA 5 is just going to get absolutely soaked. There's not going to be a single person tweeting about or writing a headline about your game if it's
No,
anywhere near GTA.
all the
Not even close.
oxygen in the room will kind of be left. And the thing about like a GTA is it's not to say it's going to like win game of the year or anything like that. The
Jeff is going to make it win something.
you know
It's gotta.
it'll win, it'll definitely win something. It's not to say that, but like narratively Grand Theft Auto games are never like the most riveting or like it's a big sandbox that's extremely well done that you can lose yourself in. it also takes a shit ton of time. And it, as a result, most people aren't going to be paying attention to anything else. And a second expansion of a game that came out several years ago isn't going to be able to compete with that.
Yeah, no, not it. I don't care what Blizzard IP it is. They could release StarCraft 3, and I don't think it would compete with it. Right? It's like,
Yeah, and RTS especially now too.
yeah,
But revitalize that franchise, that'd be cool as well.
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain about it. So we only have a few more days to find out. Um, I don't want to take up a huge amount of your time because I know it's getting late there. But if you're in Vegas right now and you've got to put all your chips on the table for, and this is me just being really bad at gambling here, put all your chips on the table. But if you're picking a betting favorite for what to expect on Thursday, where are you leaning the most now?
And I'm trying to temper my expectations. Is really what I'm trying to do, because again, all of them just seem like so wild to me. Like, I think we're going to be able to pre-order the expansion. I think that is going to come along with a benefit, and our only precedent is a pet that picks up stuff for you is just in the game for free now. So if I'm trying to think of a thing you can add to a season that's like very clearly trying to uh, reimagine itemization, is trying to bring itemization into a better place so that they can get into an expansion. You know, we saw like, Loot 2.0, and then we saw Vessel of Hatred.
Right.
Um, there's something leading up to it, and that thing is going to be in the game. If it's a class, they're doing a little bit of a bad job of hiding it, or they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And I think all the sleuths on Reddit, I could go read 15. So we're definitely going to get a class, right? So that's people's expectations now.
Right.
So regardless of what I say, I think that's people's expectations. And I just really hope it's something. I hope it's a crazy thing. I hope it is something we've never seen before, and that's why it makes sense. Because my all of my tickets were that in the expansion we were going to get a paladin, because Akarat is coming back and he's going to lead these false sheep, and we're going to like wake people up out of a cult, or like the true Zakarim are going to come forward to try to stop him and reclaim the body of Akarat, and that's when we were going to see it, like in that storyline.
Right.
So it makes even less sense to me to just drop it here. Like, yeah, there's an angel. People are like, oh, there's an angel. So obviously paladins. I'm like,
Right.
the whole
But
storyline with Hadriel is that the angels are distinctly not taking a role in Sanctuary. They've literally written us off. That's
right.
the end of Reaper of Souls. So I don't see how it fits into the story to add a new class.
There is a quest line in which you do go and help a crusader recover.
You and you do, right? And
So
we
like
also saw
they do exist.
there are some hanging out in Zarbon's right now, aren't they?
Right.
They're like
Yeah.
they're left over there from like the Triune, like when the Triune lady was on,
Yeah.
um, whatever. I definitely remember what season that was. Uh, but how do you drop one in? I don't know. I'm trying to
Yeah.
talk myself out of it, because I'm like, how does that even make sense? I know people don't care about the lore other than like when Nine Ball is here, but I do,
Yeah.
and I don't know how you drop one in. I don't know.
In
I'm not a gambling man. That's why I gamble in video games, because I
yeah,
can't lose anything.
yeah, I've gone to the casino twice in my life and I hated it both times. I just don't like losing money.
I think it's a new system that is going to here's my thought. I think it's a new system that it gets added into the game that we've been asking for, and maybe that's even why the tower needed to be pushed off, because the system needed to take up space. I haven't seen a system. I don't know that,
Right.
but that's the only thing that like kind of makes sense to me. It's like, oh, Kanai's cube is back now,
No, yeah.
and you get sanctification, and you get to completely redo itemization in the game, something like that. That's my very conservative guess.
I think again, if I would be split, uh, but it's the game awards. You're getting a big audience. You need them coming back. It's got to be big. It can't just be a trailer. It's got to be a trailer, and I'm gonna put my chips. You know what? I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick to my guns. I still think we get the full expansion. I think it is a complete shadow drop. It's the first time in Blizzard history to ever do something like that. I mean, hell, it's the first time Diablo's ever gotten a second expansion to begin with. Um, but complete shadow drop. Boom. Everybody gets a great holiday season. Enjoy it,
Well,
and
except for me. I do not get a great holiday season because people will expect me to already have guides for this, which
yeah,
I won't be able to.
yeah.
And I would like to be able to sleep at some point in December. I would
Nope,
personally
not
like to
gonna
be able to.
happen. Um, but maybe it won't. Who knows? We're gonna have to depart speculation station
Shoot,
and
shoot, shoot,
find
shoot,
out.
shoot, 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 shoot.
We'll
That's
have
the
to
train
just
leaving the station. If you wanted to put something in there,
yep.
that was good.
Thank you.
That's very good.
Um,
I'm from
so
Boston, so it doesn't make that noise. It just screams as it.
oh
The,
yeah.
if you've have you ever been so have you ever been on the Green Line in Boston ever? Not to do a
I've
huge.
actually never made it out to that coast. Or at least
Oh,
like the Northeast, I've never been
my hat. It's so
to.
for people who are Bostonians who have ever been to Boston. Hi, welcome to my actual accent. The Green Line is a train that is meant to be very nice and has like this cool like turning piece to it. So there's not actually like different cars. I'm getting out of my accent. There aren't different cars. They're all one singular line, and they just have these rotating things. And they are made out of sheet metal. And when it goes through the station, it screams like a banshee out of hell. It is the loudest thing on this planet. So there is a, and I'm not going to make the noise because you would have to completely cut the audio. But if there's anybody from Boston, they know what I'm talking about, and it's the worst.
Also, I don't think many people are traveling on the noise I was making was a steam locomotive. So I think if you were still traveling on a steam locomotive, it's the 1800s and you're in the Wild West. How did you get a podcast? I don't
You
know.
got dysentery and you died.
Yeah,
I don't who went back in time with an iPod Nano with this
right.
just this episode of this
Just
podcast on it.
this episode of the Diablo podcast. I'm perhaps a very eager time traveler somewhere out there. Uh, Genuinely, it is so great to chat with you. Thank you for coming on by and hanging out. And as usual, I mean, if people don't know, it's weird, but where can people find you?
Hi, I'm Macrobioboi. You only know me from this because I'm not a famous person. And thank you for allowing me to steal some of your clout. I'm found on everywhere, so I stream on Twitch as well as on YouTube. I'm a writer for Maxroll. I'm the Necromancer class lead there. So if you've ever used one of the Necro build guides, I've touched that at some point, or some of my great writers there. And I'm on all social media. If type in enough macros and bio boys and boy boys and bio boos, you'll find me eventually. You can come listen to me be this pedantic and overthinking on my own videos.
And that's why I'm excited to watch you struggle through an expansion that you have not gotten eyes on, because that would be fun, and we'll all learn something.
And I will cry. And my girlfriend will finally. We just bought a house together, but my girlfriend will finally leave me because I won't have left this room for 10,000 hours straight.
Well, you
But yeah,
said
it'll
you
be exciting, whatever it is.
as you were bringing up before, you haven't been streaming for a little bit. Well, there was your respite, and now it's time
Yeah.
to put on your hard hat and go to the streaming mines and get after it.
Get in and go mine out the stream data and get all
Yeah,
the impressions and the click throughs.
somebody's got to do it. All right, so we will find out on Thursday. Let us, this should drop before the episode, so let us know what you think is going to happen, and then come back and tell me I was right. Because that is what I want, validation for my prophetic gifts. Um, in the meantime, let's close it out as we always do with a moo, moo, moo.
Moo 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 moo.